All right, good morning and welcome to Iyun Mishnayos and Sion Lang. We're learning Maseches Kilayim Perek Vav Mishna Dalid over here. It has an interesting case. The general rule in this case is we learned yesterday that if you a singular vine, not an oris, not five vines that are hovering over a pergola or tied to a pergola, we're talking about where it's a single vine, but it's wrapped around a tree, right? It's wrapped around the tree. So it depends if it's a fruit bearing tree or not. Mishnah Hey, we'll learn any fruit bearing tree is a fruit bearing tree. If it's a fruit bearing tree, it's only usher to plant directly underneath where the vine is. The rest of the tree you can plant underneath a different species. Again, you don't have to mark it down. Almost not a kerem. It's only a singular vine. You don't have to mark it 6 tefachim. And maybe underneath you don't have to mark it at all. But then it brings you an interesting case. We see that Rabbi Yeshua brought Rabbi Yishmael to a certain place, Maganya. Vereo Gefen Shumuda mixes Akora. There's a mission in the middle of Mishnah Dalid. Besadan Shal Sikma, Bokoras Harbe. He brought him a sikma tree. So the Rishonim defined it as a type of fig. Sounds like a sycamore tree. I don't know if sycamore trees have fruits. Anyway, the wood is very strong. It's a very strong wood. People use the beams of the wood to construct houses and things like that. So what is exactly the case? Bokoras Harbe. And he says, he says the same din applies to it, that it's not considered to be a fruit-bearing tree. It's not considered to be a fruit-bearing tree. So underneath the Korah is Aser. Not underneath the Korah is going to be Mutter, because it's considered not to be a fruit-bearing tree. I'm sorry, it is considered to be a fruit-bearing tree. It's considered to be a fruit-bearing tree, so therefore, since the geffen is not, the tree is not batal to the geffen, so it wouldn't aser the rest of the space of the tree. Only directly underneath the vine would be aser, because it's a fruit-bearing tree. So therefore, only directly underneath, but not the rest of the tree. Now, there's a machlokas over here. The Yakin, Tiferes Yisrael. I don't know what the Yakin is. Tiferes Yisrael brings. He says, L'nochav Aleph, V'lo Gilan Michael. V'sadan shel sikma hainu kodem shenichas mechubar. This case is talking about before it was cut down. Nichras mechubar nikra korah. The kan mayri shayu kama koros krusos munachas al asadan shemechubar adayin. We're talking about even in a case where it's a sycamore tree or a vine or a fig-bearing tree, and the beams were already cut. There are pieces of wood from the tree cut, and they're lying on top of detached. They're lying on top of the tree. Still, the halacha is, that's the Mishnah's chiddush. The chiddush of the Mishnah is still, it's considered a fruit-bearing tree, and you're allowed to plant underneath the rest of it, the tree, the rest of the korah, and just directly underneath it, you're not allowed to plant. The Rambam, and I believe the Rabbi Bar Tanura, seem to indicate we're talking about where it's attached, where the branches are attached. He's calls them koros because they're fit to make beams out of, even though they're not beams yet. What's the machlokas? What's going on over here? So, as we mentioned yesterday, this whole din of Kilayim begefen, Kilayim with grapes, is it a din? We declared a chakir, investigation. Is it a din in the Yanika that when grapes get nourished from the same soil or together with a different species, it ruins both the grapes and it ruins the other species? The tastes don't go together and it ruins it. The Yanika is aser, or not the Yanika is aser, but the irvuvia, the appearance of a mixing, it's displeasing to the eye. Let's say it's displeasing to the eye to see a mixture like that. And that's the source of the Torah. I know I'm giving a little bit of Darshan time al mikra, but it's just explaining the reason. You can say without saying the reason behind it. Is the Yanika aser, or is the Ruvia aser, or is the appearance of being mixed together? So how would we explain this case of Korah? So if you explain a big chiddush at the various Israel, we're talking about detached branches. Now, if it's a piece of wood, right, it's not an Elon Michael, so therefore it's batel to the vine. The vine is more important, and therefore you can't be Zora as a Moser, even where not directly underneath the vine would be Aser. So it must be the Yachin is holding, Yachin you have to say is holding, that obviously the Isser is the appearance. Therefore, these koros, since they're lying on top of a fruit-bearing tree, the sigma, so therefore, as long as we see that they're lying there, so therefore it's irvuvia. It looks like irvuvia, and it looks like part of the tree. If it looks like part of the tree, so therefore we can say that you can plant the rest because it's part of the Elon Michael and it's not batal to the vine. But if you learn the Isser is the Yanika and you can't plant underneath it because it'll be yonik 1/200th from the vine, so therefore, and made exer the rabbanon. Obviously, the rest of the mosar, even by apipriot, is the usher. The extension is usher because of exer the rabbanon that you might come to be yonik from it. So then we can hear maybe the Rambam and the Rajah Nur are explaining that the Isser of the Kilayim or the Geffen is because of the Ervuvia, because of the Yanika, and therefore, technically, if it would be cut off, the Karo would be cut off. We'd have to view it independently. We have to view it as what it is. If it's in the Yanika, then in the nourishment, so then in the Yanika, so then uh, by a fruit bearing tree, it wouldn't be batal to the vine. But if it was cut off, then it would be batal technically. And uh, because we have to explain a different explanation, and the reason a fruit bearing tree is not because the reason it's batal, fruit bearing tree is not batal to the vine is because the fruit bearing tree is not affected by the vine. Let's say that it's not affected by the vine. Would be affected by the vine, but a fruit bearing tree wouldn't be affected by a vine hovering over it. So therefore, only if the wood is not detached, but if it's detached from it, it no longer has the ability. The Yanika has its own Yanika, and the wood would be affected by the grapevines hovering over it, and therefore it would be batal to it, and the rest we would make zera darabana on the most or on the rest. Hope you know today's share. See you tomorrow. Bye.